Most people think that moving to Spain means buying a perfectly legal house on a normal street, but that's not always how it works. Today we are meeting Ruth, who is opening her door on Show Me Ya Casa, and she's going to discuss with us why she bought her illegal stroke irregular home in the Mijas Campo. What are the pros and cons of buying such a property, and was it actually worth it? So hi Ruth, and thank you for opening your doors for Show Me Your Casa in the beautiful Mijas with amazing views. Say hello.
Hello.
Introduction.
So I'm Ruth, and we moved out here in 2019 to the lovely Mijas Campo or Mijas area. We live in Campo, which is very rural, very rustic. And we love it. We have this beautiful view, which you'll see a bit more of in a minute, and a beautiful, quaint little casa with our two lovely dogs.
Thank you, Ruth. So let's show me your casa.
Hey. Hello all. This is my beautiful view, or my partner and my beautiful view. So this is Mijas we're in, and if we look over to the left, we're looking towards Malaga. Directly in front of us we have Fuengirola, and then as we come around here we have towards La Cala and Marbella. And as you can see, this is what sold this wonderful irregular property. Now, when we brought the property, I wasn't certain what irregular was, but we've soon learned. A guide of a very bougie one-bedroom casa. Come on up. So the gas barbecue is a must. Why do you want to cook in your hot kitchen? You do not need a big kitchen. You actually need somewhere you can do all your cooking outside. Barbecues are great. We do cheat and have a gas one. We have a little tinny room for outside showering, for visitors that might be staying with us in the caravan. Should have put the lid down.
Remind me how much this property was?
I got it in my head as about 135 by the time we paid the taxes and bits and bobs that was on top. How much we've spent to do it up, I haven't got a clue, because when we moved in it was basically a garage and a workshop with a little sink unit. Very tired, and as I say, the pool was a green lagoon, but it was a pool and it was on our register. And we go through here. This is our little kind of bougie sitting room. My partner, hobbies are a must for living in Spain. So I took up painting in COVID. My dogs that I moved over with, and hubby, as you see, likes his music.
Fabulous. So this is your lounge.
This is our lounge. We have the required pellet burner for the winter months. And we do have our aircon unit, which I will admit, although we met 35 degrees so far in the last week, I haven't actually used it. Doors open, windows open, you get a breeze.
It's very windy today. It's lovely.
Yeah, that's one of the absolute musts about living coast facing rather than inland. Once you go inland up a mountain, forget it. Those pretty white Andalusian villages with no coastal view, you'll cremate. So we're going to walk through now to the kitchen. Brilliant, ideal. Again, you've got that panoramic view outside into the terrace, which is great with the curtain glass, which is a must because at least you can block it in when it's too wet or too windy. But yeah, this is our centre of the hub and the kitchen.
So this bit out here is really nice, Ruth. Do you want to tell me a little bit about...
We love it out
Is this your
here.
favourite room, would you say? Or?
I would say this is our favourite spot because, you know, we can sit out here in the winter, we'll have the curtain glass closed, we'll watch the cracking thunderstorms, the bolts of lightning going across the sky. So we love it, and then in the summer we can open all the curtain glass up and you have that lovely breeze. But today actually it's that windy that we've had to keep the curtain glass shut. Bear with us as we've got this rather sharp stairs.
So your property is a one-bedroom.
It is a very bougie one-bedroom.
Compact and bijou.
Bijou and compact is a very good way of describing it. So yeah, and then when we've got a little shower room and a little small dressing room and just some hanging space behind. And again, we have this shutters. Again, shutters are a requirement because they keep the sun and the heat out. And again, we have that view to wake up to.
Oh, this is cute. Nice and cute, but it serves you Serves you
You
well.
don't need a huge bathroom. You need somewhere you can go in, shower, wash, etc. And that's all you really need of a bathroom. And it gives us the space in the bedroom, so we quite like it.
Yes, 100%.
And then our other little stunning area that sold the property to us is we have a little upstairs outside terrace,
Nice.
which again is lovely in the breeze.
Knocks your head off, that
It
breeze.
does. And we have a lake. So we love the Campo, we love countryside. But what I would say to people when they're looking at Campo, irregular, illegal properties, is their access. You know, we have a track. You know, I do fear the day those rocks comes down, it's going to happen somewhere. But we're lucky that we've actually got Spanish that live below us. So I kind of think something happens, we know they'll kind of sort it out with us. But when you drive down your Lover Dry riverbed, remember it doesn't stay dry. And it's great being in the Campo, it's great being away from people. But, you know, when we've had the weather we've had in the last 6 months and half of it washes away and you have to rebuild it time and time, it's your responsibility. It's not council. Council don't look after it. You're in the Campo. And in through our little gateway, we like the little birds joining our gate. Kira, my one rescue dog.
So now I'm going to have a quick chat with Ruth, and we're just going to talk about the pros and cons of buying an illegal/irregular property, what that actually means, what is the point in doing that. So I'm going to sit down with Ruth and hammer down the realities of buying such a property like this. So I'm going to dig a bit deeper about what an irregular property is, what the buying process is, pros and cons to watch out for, and some key considerations that Ruth thinks that you guys should know if anybody is looking into buying it. So first of all, we know that Ruth paid around the €130,000 mark for this beautiful accommodation. You can't get a mortgage though, is that correct on this type?
No, you wouldn't be able to get a mortgage on it. We were actually told that we could not get a mortgage.
And you had the cash?
And we had the cash.
Which always helps.
That's not the cash to go much higher, which is why we ended up buying what is an irregular, illegal property.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one of the reasons. So what is an illegal, irregular property? Like, what does that mean? The term illegal property is banded around the internet.
It's frightening, it's
yeah.
illegal.
Oh, you know, and of course, some of them are, and you do have to do your due diligence, like Ruth and John did. But as a definition, what do you know to be an irregular property? Like, what does that mean?
Basically, it's like the town hall have not actually taken it under their jurisdiction, okay? They don't actually accept it within their boundary of their residential area. A quick thing that I learned is that Andalusia has over 330,000-ish irregular illegal properties. Mijas as a municipality is well over 3,500 as well irregular illegal properties. So basically that's kind of where we were standing at. We knew that the town hall and this area as a per se are all classed as irregular illegal properties.
Now, we're talking from Ruth's viewpoint. So this isn't flat blanket across the whole of Spain.
And what I understand of it. So please, you know, forewarned is forearmed, but do your own due diligence and question things. And don't use the solicitor attached to your estate agent. Get valid information from somebody else that possibly isn't linked to your estate agent. It's probably the one thing that we didn't do.
Okay. So essentially, the town hall doesn't recognise it, but it doesn't mean to say you can't buy and sell these properties. Obviously, you can, and you've got to decide if there is a risk, if it's worth it, and weighing it up. So it's obviously very important to do your due diligence checks when you're buying a country property, or buying any property. It doesn't matter if it's in the country, not in the country, irregular, it doesn't matter. Do you think that your solicitor gave you enough information to be able to make an informed decision on what irregular properties were?
So we saw that there were problems when we first looked at the property, and we wouldn't even put a deposit down until those problems were qualified and rectified.
Okay. So are you connected to mains electricity, mains water? I mean, how is your property recognised with the town hall?
And that's exactly what the issue was. So when we moved here, when we looked at the property, we could see that from the fuse board there was no mains electricity. We could actually see that there was a cable running across the campo to another residential area. So we both said, we aren't going any further than this until you show us the bill for the electricity in that property's name and the bill for the water. And we wanted to see the EV, which is the equivalent to council tax, and we wanted to see a plan of the property. So once we could see that the town hall had licensed the property for electricity, because you can't get electricity unless the town hall say it's okay, and we had license for water, because again the town hall have to accept you to have water. You can't just ask the board to put your water in, it has to go through a system. And we knew that from our land map we actually showed the swimming pool, and on the deeds it actually explained that we had a kitchen, a bathroom, a bedroom, a sports area being the swimming pool. So to us, how much more legal did we want to be? You know, to us, they were all written on our deeds, they were all written on the paperwork that is pertinent to the property. I didn't see that really it needed to be any more legalised by a piece of paper that was going to cost a ridiculous amount of money.
So that's essentially for this particular property, connected to all the mains, recognised, not registered, but really, well, I suppose registered in the fact that you do pay, you know, property tax.
Yeah.
So you're still paying tax on the property, but it hasn't just got that formalised certificate to say that this is a dwelling that you can live in, even though it's got all those services connected and somebody's obviously
like
living here. So that's like the missing piece for
Yeah.
this particular property.
Yeah.
Obviously other properties are very different, so we're just talking about this one. Okay, and when you're looking at the plans of an irregular property, what type of things do you really need to be scrutinising and taking on board?
All campo land is owned. But what we didn't realise, what we assumed was a terrace, a nice bit of flat land, we just assumed it was a flat land where they'd sculpted the ground. Actually, that is a legal rights of access to adjoining land. Now, our solicitor didn't tell us that, but our solicitor didn't see the land. He doesn't realise it's built on a mountain. So it's for you to say, you know, what's around the corner? Is there any other ways to get to that land? Because if there isn't, they do have legal right to cross your land if that's the only way to get to an access road. So it's worth knowing those things. The bit like when you see people and they say, oh, I'm going to go for this totally off-grid property, it's really lovely. Is it totally off-grid because it's got no licenses and that's why it's not got mains water and mains electric? You know, you can still be off-grid, but make sure you have the actual electricity box and the water. You might decide to go solar, but if you've got those two bits, you'll know you're kind of, to me, halfway legal. Okay, that's the way I terminology it. And also about the idea of being in campo, in an irregular and an illegal property, is access. Okay, because it's great that you live in the middle of nowhere. It's great you drive up a stream bed, but that's your stream bed for you to maintain. And when we've had 6 months like we've just had, when it all gets washed away, the council aren't going to repair it. So, you know, again, it might look quaint, it might look lovely, look living at half of a mountain or wherever, but be mindful, and I think we're quite lucky that we've got a couple of Spanish properties below us, and we do actually have this access issue, because that means the Spanish that go across there are going to help with any issues.
So let's talk about the pros and the price. So you got it for 130. 6 years ago, for a similar kind of property, you would probably be looking at the 200,000 euro mark, would you say, when you were looking?
Easily, I think, you know.
Maybe 220?
220, especially if you were looking at a more gated community type with a bit of a plot.
So essentially, by buying an irregular property, you probably saved 100k plus by buying a property like this. One of the other things that we've mentioned before is, you know, it's not on an urbanisation. It's not in a big built-up expat community. You've got space, you can breathe, you can have your dog. So this is what I'm talking about, some of the pros about buying such a property like this. You can have chickens, dogs, like whatever you want.
Sitting out there, jumping in our swimming pool at 12 o'clock at night, not having to think about community rules and all those kind of chaotic things.
Okay, so I just want to quickly talk about the cost of your services and what that looks like. So A lot of country properties aren't connected to main sewerage. What system have you got?
Yeah, so we have got a very old-fashioned depositor, basically a concrete tank built straight onto the bedrock. We may need to change it to a proper septic tank in the future, but ours works perfectly well. Basically, we also do collect our grey water for the garden, so it's only really the toilets and 1 or 2 sinks that go actually directly into our big concrete tank underground. When we've checked it, it's bone dry because the water just leaches straight away into the bedrock, and we don't have any smells or any issues. So I quite like my depositor, much better than a septic tank.
Interesting, good. And you pay property tax here, and you pay for your garbage to be taken away. What's that in total?
Yep, so the property tax is called EB, equivalent to council tax in the UK. And here we pay around about 160 for the EB, and we pay about 60 for the Basra. So that's quite fine. So another important point with Campo properties, we have a slight issue with fluctuating electricity, like sometimes don't even bother putting the bread in the toaster because it ain't gonna happen. So actually having a gas cooker is really quite important, a bit like the gas barbie, because it's great that you can still put the kettle on. Don't try and use an electric kettle. So yeah, we do use gas bottles. We probably get through about 3 a year, and I think they are about €23 now.
Electricity is how much?
We around about 70 to 90 euros a month.
And internet, how much is that?
Yeah, internet again, because we don't get a mains telephone line because we're part of Campo, so we don't get fibre. But we have what's called a high link Wi-Fi unit, so it just talks to the mast up on the mountain, and that's about 40 euros.
And one final question, Ruth. If you had to do it all over again and you were coming to Spain and you had the choice between paying much more money for a non-irregular property and a property like this, what would you opt for?
We would opt for the irregular property because we are country folk. We love living out in the country. We love living rural. And you wouldn't get this kind of property to be bloody legalised at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned. You know, you've got to be on a gated community or a gated residential area to meet all the criterias, and therefore to us it wasn't such a big issue to have an irregular illegal property.
And look, you live in a beautiful place, you've got no neighbours, it's lovely and quiet, you're connected to nature, you've got your own pool. I mean, it's just like plus. And on top of that, you pay probably 100 grand
and
less.
we can party here, and yeah, you have gatherings here, and yeah, you can just enjoy yourself and chill out.
Fabulous.
Biggest thing is, though, get to know your neighbours. Because, you know, if there is a situation, then you've got contact with your neighbours, and I think and don't fall out with them, and keep your head down, because, you know, that's what living in Spain is about. It's about just stepping back.
It is. Thank you for your time today, Ruth, and
Welcome.
explaining what that looks like to everybody that wasn't quite sure. I've certainly learned something new today. Goodbye, Ruth.
Bye.